Hi, everybody. Ready for a legal mentorship moment by the lawyer. First of all, I want to read you about the song, "The Sun Will Shine Again." You know, Dr. Murdoch considers all of you his golden connections. And whenever he goes through a down moment, he goes and makes a song out of it, and he shares it. And that's because he has this great love for all of you. I've never seen such a thing in any person, you know, throughout my lifetime. And he shares his down moment in a song. And "The Sun Will Shine Again," for that to make it into a movie, this is a big thing. And the story of Tammy Faye Bakker should be told. And she belts this song out. And these are the words, if you're interested. If you are facing a mountain so high it won't move away, if a sickness lingers inside, no matter how hard you pray, listen, my brother, I've got good news. Your victory is at hand. Your midnight's almost over. The sun will shine again. And then the chorus says, the sun will shine again. Oh, the sun will shine again. Dark clouds will fade. A new day will break. Just like God promised to send, oh, there's a rainbow on the other side. Can you just see it? There's a rainbow on the other side. The storm is going to end. Midnight's almost over. The sun will shine again. If, like the widow who faced her last meal, you don't know where to turn, if your heart is broken inside and nobody seems concerned, oh, listen, my brother, this too shall pass, and God's word surely will stand. Midnight's almost over. The sun will shine again. And then the chorus, the sun shall shine again. Oh, y'all look at that movie when it comes out. Listen to that song. It's out. It's protected, and it's from one of his really down moments. And the sun did shine again. The midnight was over. But you are his inspiration. All of you are his inspiration. Wanted to share that with you because Dr. Murdoch is a very unusual man. Your $300 seed is going to be a seed of honor once you sow it. But I've already personally have reaped a really big harvest today. Just a complete stranger came wanting to talk to me, and he came. He had seen me briefly on my website, and he came, and I was able to give him, and where these words came from, I don't know, but I know that they were inspired by the seat of honor that I gave the Dr. Murdoch. And I was just giving advice, and I'm going to talk to you about that I'm going to give you a legal moment here, especially for pastors and businessmen. Anyway, this is a businessman with a very thriving business in the area. And after I got done talking with him, he says, you know, I've talked to 2 lawyers and 2 CPAs, and he said, I've never heard such words. He said, I've never, ever heard such words. And it was a complete inspiration to him. He totally left refreshed, he and his wife, and they had a way to go, a direction. Basically, it was a confusing time for him. He didn't really understand the entity that he created, which is an LLC. Does anybody know what that is? It's a limited liability corporation. It was for business. And I'm going to give you a word, Matthew 7:24-27. All of you that have churches, you've created these corporations, these nonprofit corporations, which are basis of churches. Businessmen have created these legal entities, and I have met no one that really truly understands what they created. But when you go to the state and you create these entities, they are persons. The state sees this corporation and the LLC as a person. Okay, when you create the person, you have to create its personality and you have to create its existence. And little did you know that it takes its this person that you're creating on paper will actually manifest in a business, and you are the one that's going to create its personality, its likes, its dislikes, and its religion. Yes. And so I'm telling all our people who are thinking about setting up a business, yes, go ahead, I'll do the incorporation, but you created a person. What do you want this person to be and to think and to believe? Well, you create the belief system in a thing called bylaws. Bylaws, learn that word. And if you give it to a lawyer to create, he's going to put in his own beliefs, which are none, zero. You know, you're going out on the internet and you get these lawyers to create this person, and you have no clue what you're creating. So, I'm going to tell you, pay attention to who you're creating and what their belief system is. And so in these bylaws, I recommend my clients to put in their belief system in it. And I even have them, I put the words of their belief system when I even create this person. It's going to have a DNA when we create it with the state. I practice in the state of Texas. Those are called formation documents. You're forming like a dirt man from dirt, like God did. You create a dirt man. When you create bylaws, you're doing what God did, is breathing life into this entity, paper entity that you created. So in these bylaws, we're going to put, these are the tenets of my belief system, and this business is going to carry it through. The famous case of the baker, the cake baker, or actually it was the Hitching Post case, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. The Hitching Post was a private corporation, and I forget which state, but what they did was there were two pastors that they would marry people, and it was a business that they created. They formed it in their state. It became a corporation, and it was one of those that got one of these lawyers to just create this thing, not realizing that they're creating a person at any rate. So a homosexual couple wanted them to perform a marriage ceremony, and of course they refused to do it because of their personal belief system. And the state went and arrested these people, arrested the corporation. Corporations, they commit crimes and they will be put in jail. Even big ones. How can a paper corporation be put in jail? Well, there's some laws. The laws of the country also apply to your corporations. And so there's some laws, not to pollute, and there's some criminal sanctions associated with it. And you say, well, how do they do that? How does the DA arrest a corporation? Well, you go to the person that created and the president of that corporation. Yeah, they're the ones that get in jail. Yes, you can be put in jail for violating a law, or your corporation violating the law. So, at any rate, in the Hitching Post case, they said, look, they had a criminal statute that if any person refused to perform the same-sex marriage, well, they were criminal sanctioned. I think 4 years in jail. And it was not a civil, but it was a city criminal statute. There's city criminal statutes, and there's state level criminal, city, state, and federal, different stages of criminal laws. Okay. So, what happened ultimately was, the question was, Well, this is a corporation that we're arresting, not the individuals. And what are the closely held religious beliefs that you have? You have to prove that you have closely held religious beliefs. Well, how does a corporation prove that it's got closely held religious beliefs? How do you do that? In the Hitching Post case, there were just generic bylaws, generic incorporations, generic formation in the state, where you become a corporation and you start doing business under that business name. Well, they didn't have anything like that in their corporation. And so then, what they did have was, there were pastors, I think it was Foursquare, that made them pastors and gave them the credentials to marry people. And it turns out that Foursquare has in their bylaws and in their formation document, especially in their bylaws, that any pastor that they made pastors, one of the rules was no same-sex marriage. If you perform a same-sex marriage, you lose your credentials as a pastor. And so that's how the case was ultimately won, by these pastors saying, look, we're based on these tenets of religious beliefs, and so if we would have performed that on behalf of our business, we would be out of business, because the business depended on their being able to perform it as pastors. So know what you're doing when you create this. Today, the man, a very successful business, we're talking, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he was not knowing what to do about it. He needed to make some decisions, and he didn't know what to do. And then I talked to him about what was in his heart and what he wanted to do. So then I gave him some direction and talked to him about, the legal entity that he created and how to turn that situation around. And his wife just kept thanking me, because this man had been perplexed, not knowing what to do, and having guilt feelings, and not knowing, he was so conflicted. But because of the seed of honor, these things just poured out. And if you are a true mentor, if you are a true mentor, if in your conversations and in your work environment, you start repeating Mike Murdoch, Dr. Murdoch words and his wisdom keys, and these things are so ingrained in me. Not too many people know that. I didn't know who Dr. Murdoch was, but Deborah, his sister, had written a letter on the internet, and I somehow got a hold of it. And it was through Deborah that got me involved in sowing the seed into this ministry headed up by Dr. Mike Murdoch. And I started getting their material. But anyway, when I moved my office, when I moved my practice from Corpus Christi, Texas to Dallas, or to Fort Worth, I started volunteering just to find out from the bottom up what this ministry was all about. And so literally I worked in their duplication department. It didn't have many of his CDs didn't have sermon titles. Well, now they have sermon titles. Why? Because I was assigned to listen to the whole message, all the messages, and give them titles. And I love doing it. I listened to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and more hundreds. And I loved it. Anytime I wasn't in court, I was just volunteering in the duplication department and ascribing some titles to these CDs. And those went back to 1986. I listened to cassettes, and then I converted a whole bunch of cassettes, the old-timey cassettes, into CDs. And so that necessitated listening and taking out all the uhs and the ums, out from the sound and creating a good product for Dr. Murdoch. So some of that all of those, Grasshopper Complex and all of those CDs, I listened to it all the way, and sometimes 2 or 3 times to get a title to the CD. But it has now become part of my practice. I mean, these things just roll out, and they're so unusual. And both of them, the husband and wife, said, we have never heard of such a thing. Never. What you talked to us about today. And so I'm hoping that what I'm saying is also blessing you. You are an inspiration to Dr. Murdoch. And of course, he inspires us. And I want to encourage you to follow through with your seeds of honor. Don't not do it. It's pretty stupid. So I want you to take Matthew 7:24 to 27, which says, something went out. Oh, I guess it left. Did I? Okay. So one of our video things went out, but Matthew 7:24, building on a solid foundation. Anyone who listens to my teaching, this is Jesus, and follows it is wise, like a person who builds a house on a solid rock. Okay, and I want to emphasize, don't build a strong foundation. Don't build your house or your business house on a strong foundation. Don't do that. Build it on a solid rock. Solid. Solid? Build it on a solid rock. Not as strong. That ain't going to hold up. It ain't going to work. Believe me. So whenever you start your business, and I want everybody must have a business. Everybody. If you're a housewife and loving to cook and cook for your children, I love to cook. But even just doing that, incorporate yourself, become a business, and start selling your recipes or selling my mother started selling her pies. She started making pies. She wasn't educated beyond the 8th grade. And she would make these banana cream pies and a wonderful crust. And so she'd sell these pies in the neighborhood. And so that was Mom, and it was a demand. There was a demand on her pie.